All right. Well, I appreciate this. You know, I got hooked on this captured ring business with Sharon. She gave a demonstration, and I saw it and have been fascinated with it ever since. So, you know, I decided that I'd give it a try. You can do it with a skew. I don't recommend it. There's a really nice captured ring tool that you can use. It makes it a whole lot easier and not near as hair raising as you try to turn these things. So we're going to give that a whirl tonight. Again, the theme was as we're trying to get ready for the holiday seasons, for gifts that we give to folks, that what we want to do is try to incorporate our turnings into something that we can give as holiday gifts. And so the one that I had, you know, baby rattles didn't do it for me because basically even my grandkids are too old for baby rattles. And then I found that drinking out of wooden goblets just loses the taste somewhere along the line. So rings and wooden goblet. So I've tried with this one with Christmas trees, and it's a lot of fun. It can get a little monotonous after the first couple of rings, but you know, you just have to bear with it. But before I start, I really want to give a real shout to Jim Sexton. New member of the club, hadn't been a member that long, won the People's Award at SWAT this year with an outstanding turning that you've seen here in the past, and nice job, Jim. It's nice to be able to walk around that crowd and say, yeah, he's part of our club, you know. So with that, I'm going to get started. I'll use a variety of tools. You know, I'll start off with trying to I'd already started and turned a tenon on this and roughed it out. It helps if you use wood that's straight grain with your captured rings. Not a lot of flaws in it, not a lot of inclusions, because the rings can be a little delicate as you get to start with them. And so we'll get started here and do it. Now I'm going to do a basic triangle cone. With captured rings, you have to leave an object at the top and the bottom that's larger than the inside diameter of the ring, or else it becomes an uncaptured ring, and it doesn't work very well. As you'll see, you know, the rings prevent other rings from sliding down. So the big ring, you know, as it goes up to the top of the tree, has always got a ring that's slightly larger to hold it on, and it won't slide off the bottom. So with that, I'm going to start here and come down for the top of my tree. It also helps, as you've seen from some of the demos that we've given in the past, to make sure that your tools are sharp. As you turn the rings, as you start to size them, you know, one of the things that you want to make sure that you do is leave enough room between the rings to have spacing. So what I'll tend to do is use my captured ring tool to set the width of the ring. I'll go back to my parting tool and set the part It's about twice the width of the parting tool to give enough room to turn the captured ring without any interference. This is where you need somebody like John Solberg, who's got a remarkable talent of being able to throw the chips where he wants them. Now, the captured ring tool looks sort of like a skew that's had a bite out of it. It works very much as a scraper. And what I do is use the skew or this ring tool to define the diameter of the ring that I'm going to turn. And then you'll go in at a depth that's about the width of the line that you left proud for the ring. So anytime I'm doing spindle work, I kind of think of John Horn, because he seems to have answers to questions unasked on spindle turning. Not quite enough. And I can assure you that this is a lot easier when you're in your shop. and the music's playing, and nobody's watching. You know, I have an eclectic taste in music. It's all over the place. So it could be classical. It could be stuff from the 60s. If I'm in a really good mood, it's generally something like Willie Nelson. Yes?
You keep the tool right up against the wood as you're rotating around it?
I do. I use that as basically a guide, you know, to rub that bevel, so that as I rotate that tool, it will make that ring round.
Did you make the tool?
No, this is an off-the-shelf from Woodcraft, and I've seen several different types. There's Sorby has one that has various attachments on it that'll screw down. I tend to like this one because it's simple. It's easy to use.
It looks like all you're cutting is
It is. It's like I said. It's very much like a scraper, and all you're doing is cutting with that tip.
the actual cylinder of the cutout there. The drill is acting as a kind of a guide.
That's right.
Up in the bottom, I guess it's
Yep. You can get ring tools that are right-handed and left-handed. I like this particular brand because it's beveled on both sides, so you can use it as a right hand or a left hand. I'll take a stone, a diamond stone, and just hone the edge, just on the outside only, not on this face, but on this outside, and it'll bring it back up sharp again. The biggest challenge that you have is to not gouge your ring as you're trying to address the tool. And then what I had found is that if you'll work it a little bit at a time, so that you can make sure you've got plenty of clearance for the tool as you're working it down. And then try to, before you finish parting the tool off, the ring off, you sand it first, because it's hard to sand once it's off. And what I'll tend to do is work it back and forth. And if you look at the profile of the tool, that if you'll put this, as you end up with this angle here, perpendicular to the part, then that's a pretty good indication that that's halfway through on the back side. So you'll see me work it back and forth. Try to buy a little extra room on the edge to swing the tool. then your 150 grit gouge. First ring is off. I'm trying to present the flat side. It's the audience. No, Willie Nelson helps you prevent doing that. Again, I'm using the tool and the semicircle that's there to gauge where to begin, to cut the edge of the next ring, having parted off the first one. And then I just go back and repeat the process. I'll open up an area, two parting gouges, and as you go through, you'll see that you can gauge reasonably well approximately how deep you need to go, just so that the angle up the tree remains relatively constant. And step back and then begin to part again. They do. I've got this one I'm working here is a 1/4 inch, and I've got a 3/8. And I would imagine you can get other sizes as well. I would also think that, as you look at the tool itself, it's not that particularly complicated, that you ought to be able to, going through some of the processes that we've gone through in some of our earlier sessions this year, that you could probably make your own tool. Take your flat stock, drill a hole, taper the edges, cut it all square, and then sharpen it. I can tell you that working in with wood that's got a little moisture to it, I think is a little nicer because it doesn't burn as bad. So when you begin to think of all the things that you could do, of course you can vary the finial at the top to make a wide variety of different types of finials. You could also, before you part them off, you could paint the rings. Then you go back after you're through and you can paint the base of the tree at a different color. You can kind of let your imagination go wild. Big key is making sure you've got enough room to swing your tool around. Success. Both of them haven't broken. The good thing about it is, if you do break one, nobody knows. Just take it off. Unless you're being recorded. Then you know, that's the problem that we have these days. Nothing is ever lost. It's always out there in the digital world for somebody to see. And again, as I'm getting quite a bit of burning there, so all I'm going to do is just take and hone the edge of the tool to try to put an edge back on it. Half a dozen. Well, again, a lot depends. You know, this is some hard maple. You know, I had done some with some elm that I had harvested off the lot, and you know, if it's got a little moisture in it, it doesn't burn near as bad. So it's just a very repetitive process. Nothing particularly complex. It's just, it's an exercise in patience. It really is so far above the cutting area of the tip that it almost acts like the bevel. Now the biggest challenge is just trying to time it such that you still have enough meat on the bottom of the ring to allow you to sand easily, and then working to try to minimize the burning, unless that's the surface enhancement you're looking for. Three. And then as you see, as you continue to progress down the edge, that the rings will tend to gravitate toward the tail and stay out of the way. If they tend to be a little bit ornery, I found that 3M tape works pretty good. Just tape them down at one end. Then you start all over again. You dress the tool. Clear out around. As you bring your tool down, you'll know what depth to adjust. And again, I just used as a reference the center line on the base of the ring tool, that when it's aligned with the middle of the ring, then I've progressed about halfway in. So it's a simple process of cut and repeat, cut and repeat. Again, you can use larger rings. That one's a 3/8 ring. You can proceed down the path as see where you get nervous when you come up across a knot. This one is delicate. That one I did with a skew. I don't recommend that. Again, this was one done from some elm. The wood still had a little moisture in it. So it doesn't burn nearly as bad. And then again, you just go back afterwards and clean up the inside. You can move it along, get a nice clean edge, and then work on whatever finial you want at the top. And just let your imagination go wild. Turn one more ring and then we'll because at this point it gets to be pretty monotonous doing another ring. I think I had seen the tree design. I haven't been able to find it again, but in my spare time in the middle of the night when I can't sleep, I get on the internet and look at wood turning stuff. There was a guy that had made these, but they were it was something like Norwegian culture, in that they were called wedding trees. And I just thought that was a neat design. Biggest problems that I have is which side of the tool do you stand on as you try to make that turn. Any questions? If not, we'll start up with the first row, and you can come up here and turn one. Yeah? You could take and wrap them and burnish the inside as well, right? So there's lots of techniques that you can do. I mean, you could, you could put a little groove, burn a wire groove down the middle of a ring once you've got it started. In my wild times, I think, gee, if you set up to do a Celtic knot and you made them really narrow, could you turn a ring? And then I took another drink and it was okay. So that's captive rings on a Christmas tree. You typically on one using the 1/4-inch tool, I'll get 8, 10 rings. If you use the larger ring tool, you'll get 6 to 8. Challenge is in addressing the tool to the ring as you go in, because if you pull it out too quick, you'll scar the outside of the ring with one of the sharp edges of the tool. If you get a little feisty, you can get a catch, and that's when you suddenly have fewer rings. Just don't tell anybody. Just don't have it recorded. So a fun project. Again, you can let your imagination grow wild as long as the finial at the top is larger than the hole in the top ring, and your base is larger than the hole in your bottom ring, you're safe. Otherwise, they're all over the floor. Give it a try. It is a lot of fun. And again, if all else fails, you can give it as a rattle to a little kid. All right?